Welcome to Expand Your Fempire with Katerina Rando, the podcast for women in business on a mission, sharing ideas to support you to grow, lead, and thrive. Now, here's your host, Katerina Rando.
Welcome back to another episode of the Expand Your Fempire podcast. I'm your host, Katerina Rando, and I am blissing to be with you today. We have one of my very good friends, Elisabeth Stitt, who is the founder of Joyful Parenting Coaching. She is a great mom, a former teacher. She supports people to bliss and thrive more in their families. And we're going to talk with her today about blissing through better boundaries. Elisabeth, bing, bing. I'm so happy to have you with us today.
Bing, 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 bing. So happy to be here.
Elisabeth, before we talk about boundaries, I want to hear a little bit about you. I mentioned that you are a former teacher. How did you decide to become an entrepreneur? Just give us a little info about your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Having taught 25 years, I began to see big changes in first my students and then in my parents. And then the last 3 years I was teaching, I had a split role, part-time in the classroom, part-time something called outreach teacher, which allowed me to spend a lot more time talking to parents more in depth. And what became very clear is how overwhelmed, anxiety-ridden, and guilty parents today are feeling about their kids. The fact of the matter is that parenting is a social skill that we used to learn organically as kids and as young teenagers and adults in multi-aged groups. And so all along the while, we were getting trained in how to be parents. And then when we were parents, we had a wide group of multi-aged mentors, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, neighbors, friends. And I began to realize parents don't have that anymore. And I just thought, what could I do about it? And then about the same time, I met a life coach who said the golden words, which is that coaching is unregulated. And I thought, okay, there's a vehicle. I can go do this.
Wonderful. And you've been doing your parenting coaching for how long now?
10 years.
10 years. Bing, bing, bing. And I know you also do Joyful Family Camp and you have Joyful Adventure Days with families. And before we get into boundaries again, my friend, take a moment and share a little bit about Joyful Family Camp and Joyful Adventure Days, because I think this is so exciting.
It is so exciting because it gives parents and kids, and I'm targeting those tweens, early teens, 10 to 14-year-olds. And Adventure Day is the 1-day experience. Camp is the 3-day experience. They both have the aim of bringing parents and their kids together for fun and enjoyment and relaxation, but it's all carefully crafted to be deepening connection, to be improving communication, and to help parents and kids come to some agreements about how they want to treat each other as a family, who they want to be as a family. And that's really upper level work. Like that is, it's not just getting by. It's not just, get through this week, through this month, through this school year. That's really saying we have this opportunity now as parents to build something very deliberately. And we can go to camp and have fun and get the skills that we need to do that building.
I love that. Elisabeth, you mentioned the families come together and they make agreements about how they're going to treat each other. Well, that brings us to our hot topic for today, which is blissing through better boundaries. And is that what boundaries are? Agreements for how we're going to treat each other?
Well, yes and no. So I'll define what they aren't. They're not an agreement between two people, because an agreement between two people requires two people. A boundary is really your agreement with yourself of what am I going to tolerate? A boundary is the line that I draw in the sand. And it doesn't matter whether or not you agree to that line. The second part of it is, what action am I going to take if you cross that line? It's not a threat. It has to be something that I am going to do. It can't be something you're going to do because I can't make you do anything.
Can you share what are some real life examples of this kind of thing?
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. This is a kind of a heavy one, but it's the one that popped into my mind. I used to have a little room between my classroom and my neighbor's classroom where the middle school teachers would often come and eat lunch. And we had a new science teacher who would come to eat lunch, and he would tell racist and sexist jokes. And so I sat him down and I said, "You are welcome to come and eat lunch, but not if you tell racist and sexist jokes." Now, because it was between my classroom and the other teacher's classroom, it was our space to designate. I could make that. It wasn't like saying the teacher's room. And so, I just said to him, "It's inappropriate. It's offensive. Oh, I didn't mean to get you upset. Doesn't matter what you intended. I'm letting you know it was inappropriate and offensive. And if you do it again, you're just not going to be welcome back to have your lunch here." And, he didn't cross the boundary. He didn't he didn't ever try to tell more sexist or racist jokes. He got the message, and we were able to enjoy the parts of him that were enjoyable without being offended or feeling like this is totally inappropriate. So, had it been in the staff room where I don't have any authority over the staff room, I would have had to have a different kind of boundary. And probably that boundary would have been, if you tell racist or sexist jokes, I'm going to get up and I'm going to take my lunch and eat it somewhere else. So I can still give the message. I can still let somebody know that they're appropriate. I have a line. I don't want it crossed. But the fact of the matter is that the only action I can take when that boundary gets crossed, in that case, was to remove myself.
And sometimes do you think in business, Elizabeth, that we make decisions based on our boundaries, but we might not even think of it as a boundary? As I'm listening to you share about this lunchroom and then you would remove yourself, like, I don't go places where I don't feel good. If I go someplace I don't feel good, I don't go back. If I go to a meeting and I leave more depresso than when I showed up, I don't go back to the meeting. So is that I don't really think of that as a boundary.
100%, those are boundaries.
Okay, beautiful. Bing, bing.
And you have boundaries that you are super clear about what women you allow into your community. And you've told us that you have asked women to leave and you have given money back because somebody has crossed a line in terms
Yes.
of being too negativo or something else.
Or being out of integrity and not paying people for the services rendered.
Yep.
Yeah,
That would be a big one.
right,
And
right.
again, you're the one who had to take the action,
Mhm,
right? So just threatening to say, "I don't like that. I'm going to make you leave the community." You backed that up 100% by giving people their
mhm,
monies back. I
mhm,
feel like I am not getting into any conversation about this.
mhm.
Like, we're done.
Right.
Whereas if you didn't give the money back, it could have gotten messy. You could have had lawyers. You could have.
Well, one of my guiding principles is if you can throw a little money and make a problem go away, throw a little money at something and make the problem go away. And of course, I know you have to have the money to throw at it, but at the same time, look, another boundary is, if something causes me stress, I don't want to keep that in my life. So if I can make a choice to leave, or I can make a choice to throw some money at it to make it go away, then that's taking care of myself. Yeah.
Right. And let's be really clear that boundaries are 100% personal. They're not a right or wrong. For instance, you and I have different boundaries around people being late. or people, people missing,
Yes.
that you're much more flexible on that. And you are much more flexible about saying, okay, we'll catch you the next time. Well,
Right.
you're going to
Right.
cancel on me. We will find a way to keep you
Yeah.
the next time. And that is so indicative of your lovely, gracious generosity.
Thank you.
And at the same time, for me, I
Right.
know that holding the boundary, because I'm a parenting coach and because parents struggle with boundaries and limits with their kids, I am super clear. And part of the reason I'm super clear and then I follow through with them is so that they experience the clarity of being followed through with. So
Yeah.
if I'm wishy-washy and I go, "Oh, well, okay. Yeah, all right. I mean, yeah, my policy is that I need 24 hours notice, but I get it. You get busy, so we'll just discount this one." If I do that, it's really not any different than telling your kid, "Okay, fine, because I still have dishes to wash, you can watch one more show."
Okay. But then next time they're pushing the boundary and they're trying to get away with more because you're not holding the
Because
boundary.
you're not holding the boundary. And I hold the boundary for them and they have to quote unquote pay the penalty of having it count
Right.
as a session. Then what I've found, and this is the really marvelous part, is that they're more attentive. They've done more homework. They're
Mhm.
like, boom, where they are like ready to work when they show up. I think there's something in them that's going like maybe two things. One is like, oh, we have to make up that lost session. So we have to be
Mhm.
super efficient and really focused. And I think the other part is like, wow, Elizabeth she's really serious about this. She
Well, I think what that speaks to, Elizabeth, is that we teach people how to treat us, you know?
Yes.
And I have found, and like give you an example from my business. Over the last 30-ish years now, I have clients that they have a certain number of coaching sessions, and of course, if they need to reschedule, I'm happy to reschedule. But then there's other programs where there's no coaching sessions. They don't get any coaching sessions because they're in a group program. At the same time, I say to my clients, if you want to talk to me about something, you're welcome to talk to me anytime. And I do talk to gals. A gal messaged me yesterday, really stressing about something, and I sent her a lovely note, and that was enough in that case. Another gal, she's like, hey, can I have 15 minutes? Yes, you can have 15 minutes. I'm happy to talk to you. And at the same time, I think we might have 80 clients right now, and the most we've had is 100-ish in a year. When I say that to everybody, all those gals, I say, hey, my friend, if you need anything, call me, Facebook me, let's talk. I'll give you some time. Only once that I can think of, so it has to be in recent history, have I had a client who I felt was taking advantage of that and messaging and calling all the time. At the same time, that client was having a very difficult year. And now she's blissing in her business. She doesn't call me, like she's there when we have group session, but she's not needing the extra support. And she has been my client for like 6 years. So from my perspective, every so often, there might be some additional something needed. And for me, that's okay. But of course, I'm an adult. I'm not a kid. But the problem arises for women that this is a pattern that they teach people that they can always push the boundaries and they can always show up late, or they can always make changes, or take forever to pay their bills, which of course is a boundary that I do hold, my friend. My clients have to pay their bills for sure. But one of the things I love about a cruise ship is nobody can come late, nobody can leave early. And you are so great. You're a part of our entrepreneurial woman community. What have you seen as some of the boundaries where women can use some support?
Well, let's just talk about saying no, because that's a big one. Of course, I always have moms in mind. And I know that a lot of our ladies in TWVIC are parents of grown and flown kids or even grandkids, they're not necessarily part of their everyday life. And of course, part of the reason we are entrepreneurs is because we want to have the freedom to say yes. Mom, can you watch the kids this afternoon? Yes. Mom, can you drive to such and such? Yes. Mom, can you take the dog while we go on vacation? Yes. And that's part of the reason that we say it. And at the same time, the truth is that when we say no, the people that we say no to kindly and firmly, they'll go find a different solution. And so, how do we know where to put the boundary is a really good question. And for me, if you are checking in with how you feel about things, then when you're feeling annoyed, like when you say yes and then you call your girlfriend to complain, okay, that was you not holding a boundary. You needed to have held a boundary, even if it was with your beloved child, your beloved adult child, or even a beloved client. If you're
Mhm.
going to immediately complain about it, then that's a really great sign to go like, oh, we might have all been better served if I had kindly and firmly said, I'm so sorry, that won't work for me this time.
Right. Right. Elizabeth, I always say that a complaint is an unstated request. It sounds like a complaint can also be a boundary that's been crossed.
Yes.
Mhm.
And when can we be flexible? If we feel really good about it, be flexible,
Right.
because people are people, they're in process, life is messy, stuff comes up. And any of us who are doing this solo entrepreneurship, we're mostly in the service industry in some way or another. And so we want to serve people and we want them
Right.
to be happy
Right.
and we want to make things work.
Right. And perfection is not required.
And perfection is not required. But that's my point, is that if the boundary gets crossed, either because they've actually crossed it or because we didn't know we needed it, like there was no line and we needed to put a line, it doesn't serve in the long run. I think it builds up like a sticky residue between you and the person. And that is, it's not the other person's fault. And let's say that again.
Mhm.
If you either don't have a boundary or you allow your boundary to be crossed, and then that creates this sticky resentment, probably unspoken, unarticulated between you and another person, that's on you. It's not on them.
Right, because we can't expect people to read our minds, and everybody's different. If I'm meeting a gal for coffee and she's 10, 15 minutes late, I'm probably catching up on my Facebook messages, and I got no problem with that. But of course, there might be another time where I have a tighter schedule and it doesn't work,
Yeah.
and it would be great to know if she was going to be late so that we can reschedule, which means we have to communicate what works for us and what doesn't work for us. Yes. And I would say that there's something called withholds. It's like we're withholding communication. So that's, I think, Elizabeth, what creates that sticky residue that you're talking about in relationship. The more we say what works for us, ask for what we want, communicate how we're feeling, the more we're going to be, I hope, creating intimacy and authenticity in our relationship.
Yes. And a stronger connection, 100%. And the first step to that is listening to yourself and knowing yourself. Because if you don't, then you don't create the boundary in the first place. And, a lot of these things they're in flux. It's not like there's a concrete rule.
Mhm.
So I'll share the story of the fact that the third time's a charm, right? It took us 3 times to reschedule time so that you and I could be talking together. And what did I say was going to happen? What was my boundary if we didn't?
Chocolate, you wanted chocolate. That's
Right?
fine. That's fine. And my friend, I'm more than happy to give you some chocolates if we didn't.
Where you are anyway. It's not a perfect boundary because it requires you to take action. So if I weren't so familiar with your chocolate sources, hey, I might be afraid that you wouldn't take action. But what that did was it said to me, it's like, okay, I get it that Katarina's busy. I get it that her life is complex.
But here's the other thing. It's like, it's okay to ask for what we want. like last time I was just a week out of hip surgery and I just didn't have the vitality to do it. And so I believe it's my job to ask,
Absolutely.
and if you had said, my friend, I really have to do this, then we would have done it for sure. And I love that you said, box of chocolates, because getting a box of chocolates is a good thing. And here's the other thing. I do agree that when you go the extra mile for someone or you go out of the way for someone, that it is really nice when that is acknowledged. And that's what that box of chocolates would have done. And,
Exactly.
and I'm very glad that we did this today, because I'm wanting to talk about boundaries a lot, because I do feel that women don't often create the boundary or recognize the boundary, or more importantly, communicate the boundary. Because I'm over here on the other side talking to tons of gals all the time about their businesses. And what I'm hearing are the complaints about so-and-so did this and so did that, or they didn't do this. And I'm saying, did you communicate to them that that doesn't work for you? Because we can't complain about something we didn't set the bound. I mean, we can complain about it, but all you got to do is ask for what you want. I remember many, many years ago, I had a vendor, phenomenal vendor, brilliant vendor, loved this vendor, vibed with her, great gal. The thing is, it would take her like a week to get back to me. And at some point, I said to her in a loving, kind way, I said, when you take a week to get back to me, that pushes my projects out, which means the revenue is pushed out. I love working with you. And if you cannot respond within 24 hours, please let me know, because that is what I require for someone who's my vendor in this area. And 20 plus years later, we're still working together because she got the message. And the other thing is, it didn't create conflict or discourse.
Right.
And I think that maybe that's why we avoid it, is we don't want the conflict or the discourse, but it doesn't always have to result in that.
No, it really doesn't. And no, thank you. I'm sorry, that doesn't work for me. Another time I'd be happy to do that. Not this time. Right? Those are all perfectly kind, loving, polite ways to say no to something. And again, when we articulate what we need and we do it in a non pushy way, we are sending a clear message of self respect. I think that when we talk about authenticity, that comes through, and that invites other people to use that same kind of language and to offer themselves and you that same kind of respect.
Elisabeth, thank you so much for exploring how we're going to bliss through more boundaries with me today. I know you do workshops, you do all kinds of great things. You have massive value. You're a great educator. You're fun to be with. Elisabeth has come on some of our cruises. She's been to our speaker mastermind. She's a master twirler. She likes to twirl around. She's a great gal to hang out with. Elisabeth, tell everyone how they can connect with you, and what are some of the things that you're up to that they may want to be a part of.
Okay, if you are a parent of 0 to 18, I offer free webinars every couple months. Those are always a great place to get to know me. I also send out a blog every Friday, and those are thematic. And they're thematic so that it applies to the 3-year-old, the 13-year-old, and the 23-year-old, something like boundaries, right? Which really applies across the ages. If you are the parent of a 10 to 14-year-old, you may have a middle schooler. You can find my middle school moms Facebook group. That's what it's called, middle school moms. It's not hard. Fabulous community, women posting all the time, issues that are going on in their household, and really very lovingly and friendly, other people jumping in to say, what has our experience been? What can we do? What might you do? What might you consider? Or just to say, like, I'm with you there, sister, and I'm sending you a big hug. If you are a California mom, and you've got tweens and teens, then do consider the Adventure Day or the Joyful Family Camp that we were talking about. Right now, they're scheduled in Monterey, Central California coast, but I'm always looking for new places to do it. So if that's something which sounds fun to you, let's have a conversation about that. And I can have camp anywhere. So
Ding, ding, ding. Absolutely. Elisabeth, thank you so much for being with us today on Expand Your Fempire podcast. This is one of many, many episodes that we have. Please go to katarinarando.com and listen to them. You can get more episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Please join us for our upcoming events. I have free workshops every month. We have virtual summits. We do all kinds of exciting things. Our mission here at the Expand Your Fempire podcast is support you to bliss and thrive more in your business. And after today, shine the spotlight on your boundaries. Hopefully, you'll make some upgrades so you can bliss even more. Bing, bing, bing.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Expand Your Fempire with Katarina Rando.